Good evening, everybody.
Kavod Harav, how are you?
Baruch Hashem, thank you.
Hashem.
I'll just go into the Facebook and we'll get started.
Good evening.
YouTube. Okay. Here we go. Okay, good. It's on. So now we'll do the screen. There we go. Okay, good. Just warning my friends over here. 1 second. Okay. So we're gonna start with. I think we were in the middle of the bit Yosef somewhere. Floating around the bit Yosef somewhere. So we'll continue there. Yeah, actually, we're doing the last halakha of this chapter.
We were almost finished, but the chapter was long.
Exactly, it
You
was
said
too
we were
long.
gonna do it this Monday.
We couldn't
Yes.
deal with it. It was too powerful for us. So, yeah. We had to give up. Okay, so we'll get back into that. We'll get back into the battle, as they say, right? Okay, so it says like this, right? The Beit Yosef. The so regarding what it says, that go see what people do. And by the way, this is a concept in halakha that a person has to know. What is the concept? The concept is that when a person is not sure what the halakha is. So what does that mean? He looked in the poskim, he looked in the Talmud, and he saw that it's not so clear what the halakha is. You know, he can't figure it out. It's a little bit complicated, a little bit confusing. So what should he do in a case like that? So tells the Talmud, what does that mean? Go and see what people are doing. In other words, when the halakha is not clear, we go and check the minhag. What does the minhag? What do most people do? And whatever most people do, that becomes the halakha. This is the idea. This is why we have this concept. I remember one time when I was in Israel, I went to Rabbi Scheinberg, you know, one of the big poskim. He's actually from Queens, but he was at the time he was in Yerushalayim already. So I asked him about something about ovens, you know, question about ovens, whatever. So I told him, I said, "What's the halakha?" So he tells me, he says, "Go and see what your neighbor does." I was like, "What?" I didn't understand what he was talking about. Like, what does that have to do with my neighbor? You know, like what my neighbor is a big rabbi. Maybe he's not such a big rabbi. So what he meant to say was, you know, go and see what people are doing, like, you know, the trend, the minhag. So I guess that's what he was trying to say, like something similar to this concept, right? But that only applies when you can't figure out the halakha. But when you can, it's clear the halakha. So then we don't go and see what people do. We don't care what people do. We care more about what it's written in the poskim, right? That's the concept. Okay, good to know that, right? So then it says that ken. So therefore it says, right, that since now the custom is not like that, you shouldn't do it. That's also the opinion of the Rambam. But Tosfot Rosh, also all these Rishonim agree. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. So it says, yeah. כתוב שרבנו תם מפרש להקל פשט ל. So it says that they wrote that Rabbeinu Tam explains that it was going towards a leniency. He answered him. פשט ל. והראש כתב the B'Shimush Rabbah, it says the Rosh, then the Shimush Rabbah, Mashma Keperush Rabbeinu Tam. It implies like Rabbeinu Tam. About the Hagaot Maimon, but in Hagaot Maimon, which is one of the Perushim, one of the commentaries on the Rambam, Katub the B'Shimush Rabbah, Pasak de Achamir. He says in Shimush Rabbah it says to be Machmir. So it seems like there's a contradiction about what it says there, right? Some kind of a confusion. Over separate Tuma, Katub she'en le'akel below raya. You shouldn't. It says over there, you shouldn't be leaning without any source, without any proof. The Samag be'Mordechai natul ledat Rabbeinu Tam. These rabbis are leaning towards Rabbeinu Tam. Katub be'Orchot Chaim. So it says in Orchot Chaim, the tzwa shenifsaka b'shem Harav Shem Tov, right? So in the name of this rabbi, Rav Shem Tov, Palcho Shamati. So it says his name was Palcho, Rav Shem Tov Palcho, whatever, right? Something like that. Shamati Shetofra. Oh, so now this is a different topic a little bit. Whatever, we'll see what it says. And we're talking about a strap that broke, right? One of the tefillin straps broke, got severed. This happens, by the way. It's fairly common, that they break sometimes, especially when they're like older, and the quality is not so good. So they break. So it says in the name of this rabbi that shetofra, you're allowed to sew it back up, right? Even with some kind of a string or so, whatever, right? So Rashba Katab, it says the Rashba, the Olchin ba le'achamir. We go lechumra. It says we go stringent. So what does that mean? He doesn't allow that. Keperush Rashi like Rashi. L'chen Katab balei tu. Also says balei tu. She'en la takana. There's no way to fix that, right? It says the balei tu. So once the strap has broken, get rid of it, right? Bury it in the ground, right? Gniza, that's what we call it, right? Gnoz. We bury it in the ground because it's holy after all. So you got to bury it. You can't just throw it in the garbage, right? Whatever. She'en la takana. There's no way to fix it. Ela gniza. What's gniza? Burial, right? Ad kana shano. That's what it says there. The Rosh Katab says Rosh Yerushalmi. Then in Yerushalmi Perek Kama in the first Perek of Megillah, Halacha 10th to the 9th Halacha. Rabbi Yirmiyah Imsik Le'Retzua. So what happened was that Rabbi Yirmiyah, his strap got broken, right? The story from the Talmud, the Tefillin of Tefillin. Shal Rabbi Abba Bar Mama. So he asked his rabbi, right? What do you do, right? What can I do with this? My strap is broken. Amar le ukshatam. So he tells him like this, right? It says in the pasuk, ukshatam, you should tie them keshira tama. So you need like a good tying. In other words, perfect, right? Without any blemish. So what does that mean? You can't do it anymore like that. It's already not. It's not intact. It's broken. But he didn't mention anything about sewing it, right? So you see from there that you can't sew it, right? According to this opinion. The old katuv sham. It's also written there. Rabbi Zera ifsik la gida deltzua. Right, that Rabbi Zera, his sinews, right, that they tie the that they do the sewing with that, as we mentioned already. So his sinews of the straps got broken. Mashma del shenif sakar etzuah. So it implies that the strap got broken, but tafra beginim, and it was sewn up with sinews. So there you go, right? According to that, it implies that you're allowed to sew it up, right? V'nifsak agid. ותילו לחזור לחשור אגיד, הפסיק לתנינות שרה ל... ולא מן האולפן, פירוש שלא מן הדין, עלמא מותר לתפור רצועה. So you see from there it says that you're allowed to sew up the straps, שנפסקה, which got broken. ויתקר say גידה דתפילין. Some say, they have a different text there, right? It's talking about the sinews of the tefillin, not the sinews of the straps. ומראה בתפילה במובט, and it's talking about the sinews which are sewn into the capsules, right? As we mentioned right last week, Shebetitorah, which is in the Titorah. According to this, he says, "En mikan raya leperush Rabbeinu Tam." So from there, there's no source regarding the perush of Rabbeinu Tam. Katab od Rosh says regarding also the Rosh, and it says furthermore, B'Shem Tshuvat HaGaon, in the name of the Tshuva Gaon, that it's lekat tefillah klal. So he says, right, that straps don't have the din of tefillah. What does that mean? You can't sew them. There's no concept like that of sewing the strap, right? Begava ela gunza. So what do? You got to just bury it, right? That's the only thing you can do. Nothing else you can do with that. has no tikkun. There's no way to fix it. Okay, so Katav Od al zeh, so he writes furthermore regarding that. He says it's talking about the strap which is surrounding the head, that holds the head, right? And also the one that holds the arm as well, the same thing. Over there, we do require that it has to be sewn up well, perfectly. But it says the straps that come down below, whether it's below, on his chest, right, on his right stomach, or we're talking about below also on his arm as well, right? Those says lo shayach bil kishira. It's not relevant there to talk about tying them because you don't tie them there. There's nothing to tie. Because it says, right, you should tie them on your arm. There should be also between your eyes. So over there, we're talking about the concept of shira, of tying, of knotting it, right, making a knot. Daka ala yad velarosh, only on their arm and on the head. Who diktiv kishira? That's written regarding tying it. The maotek kishira she'enak tama, right? So that comes to exclude. But if you tie it in a way which is not perfect, in blemished way, so it's no good. So that means you can't sew it in that place. If the strap broke in that place, which ties the arm and ties the head, right there, you can't fix it up. There's no way to fix that. That's what he's trying to say. But he says regarding the straps which are hanging down, right, it's not relevant to talk about that, right? Tying them with tefillah or sewing them. By Rabdini, because Rabdini asked a question. Right, he wanted to say, Rabdini, he wanted to say, if there was only leftover with the straps, even a little bit, right, besides outside of the knot, right? Kashrut, kisherot, they're kosher. So you see from there, right, according to this opinion, as long as it's not in the place where it's tied on the arm or tied on the head, it would be kosher to sew it up. Katuv b'tumat edition says in Tumat edition, shehu besupak b'dat harosh. So he says he's not really sure about what the rosh holds. Is he talking about the strap which surrounds the skull, right? That holds it in place. Kamar, is he referring to that? That's the place where the verse requires that you should have to tie it there, right? Oh, al kol shiur etzuah, or is he talking about the whole strap? Talking, in other words, from the right, so the keyboard. I'm sorry, it's not the skull. It's talking about the bicep, right? From the bicep, that's where you put the arm tefillin, on the bicep. So from all the way from the bicep to the finger, which goes all the way down to your middle finger, right? You do 3 over here on your middle finger. So all that length, maybe it applies also to that as well, because you're also tying it there. You're tying it on your finger. In order you should be able to tie on the to wind around the middle finger 3 times. Well, Sefer Tumah says in Sefer Tumah, mashma behed yad toch shiur etzuah yad. So it implies there that as long as it's the size of the strap of the hand, the arm, until it gets to the middle finger, as we said, right? That whole thing. And he ties it there, right? He winds it there, but he doesn't really tie it. He winds it, right? 3 times. All that measure, right, all the way down to your middle finger. If it broke there, there's no way to fix that, according to this opinion, right? There's no way to fix it up. Okay. According to Rabbeinu Tam, right? According to Rabbeinu Tam, there's no way to fix that. But Rashi, afilu betfirah, right? But it says when it comes to Rashi, you can even sew it up, right? That's fine. So there's a machloket between Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam, right? Rabbeinu Tam was the grandson of Rashi. Okay, that's the way it is. So it's according to his words. It could be also the same thing applies to the straps of the head as well. She'en lahem takana, there's no way to fix them up, right? Im nifsaku tocha shiuran, if they broke during throughout the whole size of the that has to be. Dainu shel yamin ad tabo. So what does that mean? What is the size? On the right side, it has to go down to your belly button. The strap, right? That's the size. The shell small, but the left one, adachaz, it has to go down until your chest. So that's the minimum size, right? That we have. So it says in Tumat Addition, it concludes over there that we shouldn't forbid regarding the strap shelayad of the hand of the arm, all that way going down to the middle finger, right from the bicep until the middle finger. So it says whatever he can wind around 3 times, around the finger. So it says, but if he was if he was stretching out the strap, right, from the muscle until the middle finger, without winding it, without doing any winding, around the forearm. But it says after that, all the extra slack which is there, should be that he should wrap the strap around, several times until the arm, around the forearm, like people do, right? That's the custom. So it says then we're not really so particular about tying it or sewing that part, right? At all. Because it's not really necessary so much. So it says that's what I did several times. He says I told people that it's allowed, right? I allowed them. Okay, very good. So we see that there's several different opinions here, right? What we're talking about here. According to Rabbeinu Tam, you're not allowed to fix it up by sewing it, right? But there's a machloket regarding that opinion. Does that apply only to the place where you tie the tefillin on your arm or your head, or does it apply also to the extra slack which comes down furthermore? Last line. Rabbeinu Yerucham Katav Raiti LeRabotai says, I saw my rabbis. So it says they do allow, when it comes to the straps which are hanging down, to sew it up with sinews from the inside. But it says not to tie it. So you can't do it by tying it, right? You can't connect it like that. It's not really to make a knot. It says, but according to what I wrote, B'Shem HaRosh, in the name of the Rosh, according to Rosh, even tying it is okay. Like it says, Rabbeinu wrote, Rambam. This is this language of the Rambam. The so Perek Gimel, in the end of the third Perek of the Laws of Tefillin, he says over there, so he says the strap which was the strap which was broken, and koshinota. We don't tie it back up, right? He says we don't. You can't tie it. And you can't sew it either. So Rambam says you can't do either one. Right? So what do? Says the Rambam, go and bury it, right? Have it buried. And then make another one, right? Don't be so frugal, right? Go into the store and buy another one, or order it on order online, whatever you want to do, right? It doesn't make any difference as long as it's kosher. Right? You make another one, right? So he says the rest of those straps are pasul, unless the width and the length is the proper size. Right? These straps have to have a length and a minimum width. Or more than that, right? So that's what the Rambam holds. Rambam is machmir. So it seems like he's going like Rabbeinu Tam. Rambam. He's machmir about this. Mashma desvir letoch kshiur lo mehalek shira. So it seems like he holds that when it comes to the size of the it doesn't help you to do any by tying tefillah or sewing. Ulina halacha says, okay, what's the halacha? Bottom line, right? What do we do? We see that the big machloket like everything else, right? In halacha, the efshar choshishin ad kan eshano. So he says, yeah. So he says, one second. I lost something here. Yeah. So again, right, as we said, according to halacha, what's the bottom line? Whenever it's possible, choshim nachamir, we should be machmir, right? That's halacha. That's what he says. Whenever it's not possible, right? The only thing you have is that kind of tefillin, which is sewn up or tied, right, together. The straps are tied together. It's better to rely on divrei hamekrim, on the deen opinion, than to be all together, right? Not to tefillin at all. So in other words, again, right, we've seen this several times already, that there are cases where we say this, that since it's a machloket between poskim, so we say that lechatchila, the proper way to do is to be machmir, right? And because these are all from the Torah, these halachot, they're not from the rabbis. So therefore, you should be machmir and not use this kind of tefillin, which was sewed up, the straps, or tied up, right? Like made a knot to tie it up. But if it's not possible to attain it until it becomes possible, so then you should use whatever you got, right? And then, right, once you get the good stuff, you will replace it, right, and get the good stuff. Okay, that's the idea. Okay, very good. So we're going to do Shulchan Aruch, and we're done with this chapter. Baruch Hashem. Okay. Yeah, so says Shulchan Aruch like this: if the strap broke, right, the tefillin. Did this ever happen to you, David? The strap broke?
No, nothing really broke.
Okay, good. You're a gentle guy. You're gentle. Okay, so there are some people who are a little bit more rough. They're rough people. Okay, so as we said, right, that actually this happened to me. I must tell you, one time, I bought tefillin in Israel, in Jerusalem, and it was like the straps were very poor quality. I could feel it right away. The color was coming off, and also they were like breaking, and cracking. It was horrific. Like, it was a horror story. So I was very angry at the person who sold me that. But
I always felt that there should be a standard with something like that. It's a holy thing. It's not. You're not buying underwear or T-shirt,
Right,
and
right. What can you do, So anyway, you're right. It's true. So anyway, right. What I did was, once I saw that it was like really bad quality, I just like switched it, got a new one. I switched it, because I thought there was always problems. It was breaking, cracking. It was, everything. The color was coming off. It was terrible. It was just terrible. There are some poor quality things like out there, like that. And they always tell you, by the way, these people. But it's so kosher, we're all like, we do all the chumras, we do all the stringencies. Okay, it may be very kosher, I don't know, but the quality is terrible, It's, kashrut is one thing, quality is something else sometimes, it's not always the same thing, whatever. So, what can you do? That's the way it is. But the truth is, that if this happens, they really should refund the money, But what can I tell you? It's not so expensive, We're talking like $50 maybe, for the straps, whatever. So I didn't go bother them now to get a refund, but I felt like I got ripped off, kind of, like, even though it didn't happen right away, it happened like over some time. But whatever, it was like definitely felt like I got ripped. Okay, whatever. So it happens sometimes, these kinds of things. So it tells you, right? Yesh matirim litfor. So if it got broken, there are some who allow you to sew it up, from the inside, right? Why from the inside, by the way? What's the reason why? Because this way on the outside it looks nice and smooth, Because if you do it from the outside, it looks like you're some kind of a pauper, with your patched up straps. It looks pretty shabby, So that's why you want to do it from the inside. There also may be other reasons for that, by the way, because on the outside it's supposed to be all black, So if you sew it up, it may not be black anymore because those strings that you used may not be black. That's also another reason why you have to do it from the inside. So anyway, Veshomim, right? Mashem Mekif Vimenu Arosh. Some say different opinion, right? That whatever surrounds the head, that holds the head, right? Ubashir Yad, also the one that holds the arm, that place, in order to surround the whole arm, and to tie it up there. With the arm, and to go all the way until the middle finger, right, all the way down there. And then you do 3 there. We wrap it up. That's about 3 times. Make sure he does 3 times and he ties it. And then there's no way to fix that. Right? Whether it's tying or sewing. So it says, and all the extra length after that measure, should be that's for the sake of winding around the strap around the forearm. Come up on and also the head, whatever comes down and hangs off, right? And so there, according to this opinion, doesn't puzzle it, doesn't disqualify it if you sew it there or tie it there. So he says, therefore, right, in a pressing situation where you don't have something better, you should rely on the ones that are mikkel, that are lenient, in order that you shouldn't be altogether, right, you shouldn't be altogether not doing the mitzvah tefillin. That's the bottom line. Okay, any questions on that, guys? Before we go on. Okay, so we'll go to the next chapter, which is Lamed Dalet, 34. If I'm not mistaken, the chapters after this are already much easier. So I think we went through a difficult part already. Pretty much we covered the difficult stuff. Okay. Okay, so it says in the tour like this. Seder Hanachatan. How do you put the tefillin? Batim. I'm sorry. How do you put the parchments into the compartments? So right. So, you know what we're talking about in this chapter? We're talking about the difference between Rashi and Rabbi Tam, the tefillin, right? Tefillin and Rashi, tefillin and Rabbi Tam. Here it gives you the difference, right? Exactly what it is. So according to Rashi, he says, right, first you put Kadesh, the first parchment, it's Kadesh, Mismalo, from the left side, Shalamaniach, of the one that puts it, right, the one who places it, the one who puts it. But Bait Achitzon, in the outer compartment. And then after that, right, Vihaya, Ki Viacha, that's the second parchment. According to Rashi. The Baita Sheni, in the second compartment. Baita Shlishi, what about the third one? Shema, right? You put the Shema there, first paragraph. The Baita Ravi, in the fourth compartment, Shu Baita Chitzon, which is the outer one, towards the right side, Ve'ayam Shamua, the second parak of Shema. That's the way it is according to Rashi. Good? Okay. Rabbeinu Tam, what about Rabbeinu Tam? What's the difference? Right? According to Rabbeinu Tam, who has said that this is the way it goes. Kadesh mismalo. First you put Kadesh from the left side, Ve'acharav, and then B'Bait Hasheni, and the second one, Ve'aykiv Yacha. You put this one, right? So in other words, the first two, according to Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam, they're equal, they're the same. The first two are the same. But here's the difference, right? Here, Rabbeinu Tam, in the third compartment, he puts Ve'ayam Shamua, the second parak of Shema, not the first parak. And then the second, and then the fourth compartment, Shema Chitzon, which is the outer one, Shema, he puts Shema. So he reverses these two, right? Parchments, Rabbeinu Tam. That's the difference between Rabbeinu Tam and Rashi, right? According to Rashi, the last two are Shema and then Ve'ayam Shamua. According to Rabbeinu Tam, it's Ve'ayam Shamua and then Shema. Got it? Okay, that's the difference. So it says, Siman Davar. So if you want like a way to remember it, right? Habayot Halehadade, right? It's Habayot. What does that mean? The words Vehaya are in two of the parchments are together in Rabbeinu Tam. They're together, one next to the other. Vehaya. Two of the parchments start together. Vehaya are together, one next to the other, right? Adjacent, whatever you want to call it, right? Ushnei Shinin, but the two shins, right, which is Kadesh, right, and Shema, they have shins inside both words. The tzad chutz, the outside, on the outside. It's a shinin. Next to the shins on the outside of the capsule. Shevatim. V'chen hu aseder b'shel yad, and the same thing applies to the arm tefillin as well. Right, the order is going to be different according to Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam. Same way. Right, the more kedeitle or more kedeitle, each one according to his respective opinion. Umil. So he says, however, gam Rabbeinu Tam tzarich lechatvan keseder. Look what he says, right? Even though according to Rabbeinu Tam, the way you place them is different, but you have to write them according to the right order. So what does that mean? You got to do Shema first. Why? Because Shema comes before Ve'ayam Shamua in the Torah. So even according to Rabbeinu Tam, you got to write them in that order. But when you place them, you're not going to place them in that order. The way that they're written, the Torah, Shehu Kadesh, first is Kadesh in the Torah, that's the way it's written, the order, and then Ve'aykiv Yacha. These are in the book of Exodus, right? As we mentioned already, and then Shema, and then Ve'ayam Shamua. That's the way it goes in the Torah. The Tanya, as it says in the Braita, look what it says, right? If you wrote them in the wrong order, it says in the Braita, they have to be buried, not kosher. He didn't write it in the way that's written in the Torah. The Fichach says, therefore, so therefore the arm tefillin, which has only one parchment, they're all written on one long parchment. Right? Ichtov Kadesh, first Kadesh, then Ve'aykiv Yacha, Ve'aniach Chelek Parashat Ve'ayam Shamua, and then leave enough space for Ve'ayam Shamua. Don't write that yet, right? V'Ichtov Shema, and then write Shema, V'achakach Ichtov Ve'ayam Shamua, then write Ve'ayam Shamua. You got to do it in the right order, right? The Seder Nachatan Bebatim Shel Yad V'Shel Rosh Shavin, because it's the same way as you do in the head, it's the same way you do in the arm. Right? The Seder is the order is the same. Okay, right. So this is who's telling you all this? Right, the tour, right? Is telling you all this nice information. And then he tells you, so he says, regarding this issue, there was a dispute amongst the Geonim. Who are the Geonim? They're the ones that were before the Rishonim, right? Very close to the time of the Talmud. So some Geonim held like Rashi. And some of them, they held like Rabbeinu Tam. Right? So therefore it's a big machloket, right? Like, what are you going to do with this? Right? We can't come and say who's right and who's wrong, right? Amongst the Geonim. We don't have the power to do that. Right? So says the Roshi says, since these Geonim have a machloket about this, right? And this one is possible according to the other one, according to the other opinion. The Tanya, as it says right in the Braita, right? If you switch the order of the parshiyot, the parchments, Peruch Shenatan Shel Bait Zeh Bezeh, they put in the wrong compartment, the order, like Psulim, they're pasul. The Amru Chachamim, the rabbi said, Makom yesh berosh b'daniach bo shnei tefillin. So the rabbi said in the Gemara Ruvin that there is enough room on the head to put two tefillin, right? The chen b'zrua, and also on the arm as well. The chen, so he says, therefore, Yireh Shamayim, person who's God fearing, right? So what should you do? Put both of them, right? Put Rabbeinu Tam and also put Rashi. They said betzul got tefillin. So you should have two pairs of tefillin. And put both of them. Right? So he says, what should be his intention when he places them? That the ones that are made properly, we don't know which one is the proper one. Right? It's a machloket. So it says, so he says like this in his intention, right? I'm using the one which is the kosher one to fulfill my obligation. I don't know which one it is, but whichever one it may be, right? That's the one I intend to fulfill my obligation. Right? And the other ones, he says, they're just a bunch of straps, right? A bunch of nice straps on my head. That's all they are, right? They're not kosher according to each respective opinion, right? The other opinion. Right? So look what he says, right? The Torah. That there's no prohibition of your Baal Tosif. What does that mean? That we're not allowed to add to the mitzvot, right? To add. So you may think, but just like you're adding, right? Who told you to put two tefillin? Right? The Torah says put one tefillin. You're putting two, right? So he says no. There's no prohibition like that, right? The lo mikre Baal Tosif because it's only called adding to the mitzvah. Like Hashem say hebatim. Let's say if you would like make 5 compartments in the tefillin instead of 4. Then you shouldn't put both these tefillin in one bag. Because one of them is mundane. You're not allowed to put them in the bag of tefillin. So what should you do? Let him make 2 bags, right? Each one should be a separate bag. Right? The siman, the whole kiss, and put some kind of a sign on it. You should know which one is Rashi, which one is Rabbeinu Tam. The whole kiss. So you shouldn't confuse one to the other, right? Shouldn't be confused. So you got to make it a little bit different somehow. You should be able to tell the difference between one and the other. Okay, very, very good. So it says, so he says that's the way the Rosh used to do. Can you imagine? The Rosh used to put 2 tefillin. There you go, right? Rabbeinu Meir, also Rabbeinu Meir is Rebbe, the Rebbe of the Rosh. Right? Rabbi Meir Zal. Okay, that's it, right? That's it. That's the end of the tour. Okay, so we're done with that, right? Let's go now to Beit Yosef. That's the whole tour, the whole chapter. Beautiful. Okay, so it's not such a big chapter, but a very important chapter. This is a big thing, the machloket between Rabbeinu Tam and Rashi. And by the way, I've already told you guys, maybe perhaps, but I don't remember. But the truth is, that it's really not clear what the halacha is at all, because in the Zohar Kadosh, right, the order is like Rashi, and in the Yerushalmi, right, the Talmud Yerushalmi, it's like Rabbeinu Tam. So even in the words of the sages, we don't have a clear halacha, So therefore, right, there's no way to get out of it. You gotta, if you really want to do the proper way, you gotta buy both, right? That's the only way to do it. Okay, good. So, but we're gonna see, right, a little bit more information about that as we go on. Okay, let's see the Beit Yosef. So it says Beit Yosef. The Perka comments, right? Where is this whole discussion? In Menachot, same Gemara, right? Lamed down with Alvet. Tan Rabbanan. Right, it says over there, Ketzad Sodrin Kadesh Li. What's the order over there? Like first Kadesh Li, Ve'ayaki V'yacha, and then this one, right? Miyamin from the right. Shema Ve'ayam Shemo Mismol. So it implies they're like Rashi, right? This right now. Same order as Rashi. This Braita. Tanya Ifcha, but there's also another Braita which is the opposite, right? So in other words, there's 2 Braitot that seem to contradict one the other. So Amar Abaya says Abaya lo kasha, no problem. Kan mimino shel koreh. One is talking about the right side of the one who's reading it. Kan mimino shel maniach, and that's talking about the right side of the one who's wearing it, right? Depending on which angle you're looking at it, from the opposite side or from your side. The koreh kesidan. So he says the one who reads it is going to read the proper order. So it says Amar Rav Hananel. Says Rabbeinu Hananel. Amar Rav, in the name of Rav. If he switched the order, pasul. So it concludes over there the be'eze inyan shechrifan afilu givyata legivyata. So it says whatever he switched, whatever it was, ubraita, which are the inner ones or the outer ones, like kama the psulut the pasul. Rashi explains kan mimino shel koreh, that here is talking about the right side of the reader. Shekoreh omed keneged maniach, because the reader who's reading it is standing opposite the one who's wearing the tefillin, right? That's your right side, right? And smaller shows it's going to be right side of this person and the left side of this person. The koreh kesidan, but the one who reads it, he's reading it in the right order. Kesidan shen ketuvim b'Torah, like they're written in the Torah, says Rashi. Mukdam, meuchar. What does that mean? In chronological order, right? In terms of the way it's written in the Torah. Okay. Hilkach says, therefore it says, and therefore it says Rashi, that since it taught this, that whatever it taught in the Braita above, the first you do Kadesh, and then right, from the right side, it's talking about the right side of the reader. Kamar, it's talking about the right side of the reader. And when he reads it in the proper way, from right to left, therefore comes out that he's reading them in proper order. And now which it says the opposite, the mashma kadesh v'haya im kivyacha, and right, first kivya and first kadesh, then kivyacha, bismo from the left side. Amaniach kamar, it's talking about the person who wears it from his vantage point. Right? Which is the right side of the reader. The Katwa Tosfot. So says Tosfot over there, the Arosh and the Rosh, the Mordechai, the Kasher, the Rabbeinu Tam. So he says this perush, right, this whole structure over here is difficult for Rabbeinu Tam. He doesn't accept it. Right? Amai Palginhu Likot Shtayim Barishonot. Why did he separate to read the first two miyamin from the right, Ushtayim Achron Honot B'Smol, and to read the other ones in the left side? Havalei Memar, it really should have said Rishonah miyamin, the first one from the right, the whole achirot b'smol, and all the others from the left. Or the opposite way. Shlosha rishonot miyamin, the first three from the right, Rabit b'smol, and the fourth one from the left. The kamar gabener ma'aravi lefichach. So it says, therefore it says Rabbeinu Tam doesn't fit into his brain, like this explanation doesn't fit in well. So he says, Piresh Rabbeinu Tam kadesh v'yayim shekivyacha miyamin shel koreh. That when it's talking about kadesh and it's talking about the right side of the reader. Umismol shel koreh, and also and from the left side of the reader, have shema mibachutz. The shema is outside. The achareya hayavim shemo, and then hayavim shemo. So Rabbeinu Tam has like an unusual way of understanding this Gemara, not exactly the standard, like the standard way. Okay, so that's the way the Rabbeinu Hananel also explains this. Rabbeinu Hai, and also Rabbeinu Hai, right? So you see that Rabbeinu Tam is not the only one who holds this way. There are many who hold this way, right? This is the proper way to do it. Now which he says, right, that the one who reads it will read in the right order. Not like the way Rashi explained it. But the way they're written in the Torah, like a Perush Rabbeinu Tam. It says it's like Rabbeinu Tam who says Sheu Siuma Braita, which is the end of the Braita there. The Kitzad Sodran. How does he arrange them? Talmud, because he answered the Talmud. Kan mimino shel koreh. One is talking about the right side of the reader. Kan mimino shel maniach. One is talking about the right side of the person who's wearing it. V'lo piresh ezo na'amid b'korah. And he doesn't say which one do we put for the reader. Ve'ezo na'amid ben maniach, and which one is for the one who's wearing it. Piresh maniach shekoreh koreh. So he explains like this, that the one who reads it, koreh kisidan, he reads in the right order. Shen ketubot, like they're written, right? The Braita Rishonah, the first Braita. Umash katav Rabbeinu umiu. So is that what Rabbeinu says? However, gam Rabbeinu tam tzarich lekatvam keseder. Even according to Rabbi Tam, you have to write them in the right order that they're written in the Torah, even though they're not placed that way, right? Shein ketuvot b'Torah. Shein ketuvot Tosfot. That's what it says in Tosfot. Okay. והראש והמרדכי, also ראש המרדכי, לכן כתב הסמ"ג והתרומה, and that's what it says also in סמ"ג and תרומה, אבל סמ"ג it says, כתב ומי הוא בשל יד לא נחלקו, but it says regarding the arm, says the סמ"ג, there's no מחלוקת between Rabbi Tam and Rashi. We don't go like that, by the way, but that's the opinion. והגאה תמה עליו, so it says, הגאה, he said, right, what are you talking about, right? They're arguing about both of them. ומפרש Ratzel Omar, he explains like this. Then kfeta b'diavad, after the fact, we're not so particular about that. Because that which it says in the Baita, that he changed the order of the parshiot, the parchments, pasul, al shel rosh kai. It's really talking about the head feeling, right? The mashma b'gemara, like it implies in the Gemara, adkan. The end can dat poskim, but it says the poskim don't agree with this. So what does that mean? According to poskim, ela ben b'shel yad. Whether it's the arm tefillin, ben b'shel rosh, whether it's the head tefillin, in katab shelo keseder, if he wrote them in the wrong order, sheketuvot b'Torah, which are written in the Torah, pesulim, the pasul. Ukvar katabti b'zeh. So I already wrote about this in Siman Lamed Bet in chapter 32. Okay, very good. So that's the first halacha here, and we'll go now see the Shulchan Aruch here. Okay, very good. Okay, so first halacha in Shulchan Aruch says like this: right? How do you place the parchments in the compartments? According to Rashi, the Rashi, the Rambam, and also Rambam. So Rambam agrees with Rashi. That's what you see, right? First Kadesh, which is Exodus 13, Mismo from the left side, the maniach of the one who's wearing it. In other words, I'm wearing it. It's my left, right? My left side. Right? That's going to be in the outer compartment. Right? And then this one, which is Exodus 13, also same chapter, a little bit after that, right after that. Like in the second compartment, Shema, and then the third compartment has Shema, which is in Deuteronomy 6, right? The first parak of the first chapter, the first paragraph of Shema. Beit Shlishi in the third one. And then V'ayam Shamua, which is Deuteronomy 11, right? That's going to be Beit Rabbi in the fourth compartment. Shu Beit Chitzon, which is the outer one, Dimino, to his right side, right? What does that mean? To the right side of the guy who's wearing it. So, according to Rabbeinu Tam, the Beit Shlishi in the third compartment, V'ayam Shamua, he switches it, right? First V'ayam Shamua, Beit Rabbi, and then in the fourth one, right, Shehu Chatzim Shema, which is the outer one, Shema. That's the difference, right, between Rabbeinu Tam and Rashi. So what does he say? Rashi. So he says the custom of the world is like Rashi, the Rambam, like the Rambam. So what does that mean? Most people, who put one tefillin, they put only Rashi. They don't put Rabbeinu Tam, right? Only the ones who are, more serious, the serious guys, right? They put also Rabbeinu Tam. But the truth is, as we mentioned already, I'll mention it again, right? That the truth is, in the Ashkenazi world, in the Lithuanian world of Ashkenazim, right? It's very rare you find somebody who puts Rabbeinu Tam. They don't put it usually, because according to the Gra, right? The Gra didn't put Rabbeinu Tam, but in the Hasidic world, right? In Ashkenazim, Hasidim, they do put Rabbeinu Tam. It's like pretty much standard everywhere by them, They do put Rabbeinu Tam. So the way they do it in the Hasidic world is that they do one after the other, right? First they put Rashi, and then in the end of the prayers they put Rabbeinu Tam. That's the way they do it. The Hasidim, the Sfardim, right? So the serious people in the Sephardi world, they all put Rabbeinu Tam nowadays. This is largely, by the way, due to Maran Rabbi, my rabbi, who very much stressed this very much. And because most people were not putting it, and he stressed that we should put it, So he convinced everybody, right? So now he made a revolution, just like everything else. He made a revolution with everything. So, therefore, right now the custom prevailing in Israel, especially, right, where people are serious there, in the Sephardi world, they put Rabbeinu Tam. But the custom is by them, by Sephardim, that until you get married, you don't put, right? Only when you get married. Why is that? Because when a person is still single, he's a bacher, a little young, bachelor, right? He has some bad thoughts in his head, like he's not really, his thoughts, he can't control them. So therefore, right, we say that you shouldn't put Rabbeinu Tam yet. It's too early. Because Rabbeinu Tam is very, very holy, It's more holy than Rashi, according to Kabbalah. So therefore we say, let him wait till he gets married, So Maran Rabbi, my rabbi, what he used to do was when his sons, when they used to get married, the wedding gift was Rabbeinu Tam. He used to write about this was a wedding gift, not a toaster, right? Not a toaster oven, right? Whatever, or some or some silverware. No, he would buy them Rabbeinu Tam. That's what he used to say. So this was the custom of the family of the rabbi, and this is what down the Chida also. So this is the custom of the Sfardim, By the Hasidim, the truth is, they don't wait till they're born. They don't wait till they're married. They put it even earlier, But that's our custom, Until we get married, we don't put it. Okay, very good. That's the way it is. So let's go to the next one. Two bets. Okay, so it says Bet Yosef like this. מה שכתב רבנו בשם הראש, that what she wrote in the name of the ראש, לעשות שני זוגים תפילין. You should have 2 pairs of תפילין. כן כתוב בסמ"ג, that's what it says on the סמ"ג, in the סמ"ג, והתרומה וכתוב עוד. So there's many Rishonim that write this, that a person should make 2 pairs. כתוב עוד בסמ"ג, it also said in the סמ"ג, והתרומה, שאם אינו יודע לכוון המקום להניח שניהם. So it says, what about if he doesn't know how to wear both of them together? So what does that mean? He doesn't know where to put it exactly, how to place both of them together in one shot. So then what should you do? יניח כדברי האחד של יד ושל ראש, ויסכם מיד ויניח אחרים. So what you should do is first put the Rashi, right, and then put the Rabbeinu Tam afterwards. Take off one and then put the other, right? That's the way you should do it if you're not really sure how to do both of them together. Should take them off right away. So what it says, you bless only once, right? You bless only on the first pair, and you don't bless for Rabbeinu Tam. Right? By the way, this is the custom. We don't bless for Rabbeinu Tam since the custom is like Rashi more prevailing custom. So therefore, we only bless for Rashi, and that blessing also goes on Rabbeinu Tam. You're going to put afterwards. That's how we do it. Also, according to Kabbalah, by the way, you're not supposed to bless on Rabbeinu Tam. You put them on without a blessing. So when we bless on Rashi, okay, and then he goes on to say, but he says even though he's making some kind of interruption there, saying the blessing of the tefillin of the head, according to Ashkenazim, right? Says better to do it this way than to not put it at all. In other words, you should at least you're doing the mitzvah of putting Rabbeinu Tam. That's kind of shano. Shimush Rabbi, and Shimush Rabbi katab kaseder Rashi. He writes like Rashi. Chen katab Rambam, also Rambam. Chen Samag, the Amorchi. Sheshalchu katab Meretz Israel. They wrote, they sent a letter to Meretz Israel. Shenafla bima shal kever Yecheskel. That umatzu sham tefillin. So what happened was that the grave of Yecheskel, right, the prophet Yecheskel, they found over there with some kind of tefillin, Yeshanim, very old tefillin, the old school, antiquated. Right? Consider Rambam Rashi. They found that it was like Rambam Rashi. So the Rashba writes at length about this, and he pushed out Rabbeinu Tam. Wow. And he said Rashi was right. The Rambam and the Rashi and the Rambam. And the end of the Tshuva, Katav, Sof Davar. So he says, but in bottom line, right? Okay, now I told you, right, that I'm more inclined towards Rashi. But he says, bottom line, that what? Dati no tek Rashi Rambam says, I really incline towards Rashi and Rambam. Ve'alehem anu somchim, and we rely on that. Ve'osim maseh, that's how we do, practically speaking. Ve'chen hayu nohagim Rabbeinu Yonah, that's how the Rabbeinu Yonah did, and the Ramban. So meaning what? They were only putting one tefillin, right? These rabbis. They weren't putting 2. They were only wearing Rashi. They will say maaseh be'atzman ad keneshano, right? That's how the custom was in those days. תשובה זו נמצא בתשובות רמב"ן, סימן ריש ל"ד. You find the תשובה, it says in the תשובות of the Ramban. ומה שכתב רבנו, that which רבנו said, כתב אדוני אביורסל, that the Rosh wrote, לפי שנחלקו בו גאוני עולם, since all the big גאונים had a מחלוקת about this, right, עד שלא ייתן של זה בזה, right, פסקה בהלכות תפילין, כתב כן וכן. So in other words, the Rosh writes that you should put both, because who can come and decide who's right and who's wrong between these big great giants, right? Who can do that? Right? That's what it says also in Orchot Chaim. B'shem hari mikurbil, right? Also, so you see from there, right, that the custom was amongst many. They used to put two, and also there was a custom amongst some Rishonim that only put one. Right? There was different customs. Okay, so but according to Kabbalah, by the way, you have to put both. You know? That's the way it is. So it says Maran over here, Shulchan Aruch, right? That Yireh Shamayim Yitzei Yedei Shnehem. So it says, right, the person who's God-fearing will put both of them, right? Rashi and Rabbi Tam. You should make two pairs of tefillin. You could put both of them. So when you place them, right, your intention should be Shem Ali Badil Chata, right? Ani Yotzei Dechwati. Whichever one is the right halacha, I'm doing my obligation. The Ashar Hem Kilsuot, and the rest is like just straps, just straps. I don't know which one is kosher. Kimakom Yesh Berosh V'aniach Tefillin, because there is room on the head for two tefillin. V'chen b'zruah, and also on the arm. But if he doesn't know how to do that, to put both of them together, first you should put the first one, right, and then take them off. And then you put the other one using the first blessing, right? Don't bless again. Okay, so then he says, if you can't put them in one shot, Rashi. First, you should put Rashi, and bless on them. It should be on the time of Kriyat Shema. When he's saying Kriyat Shema, you should wear it. And also the prayers. And then after the prayers, you should put Rabbeinu Tam, without a blessing. And you should read Shema. These two paragraphs, right? By the way, just to tell you, like, practically speaking, what we used to do at the Beit Maran, at the house of Maran, we would first say Shachri and say the Chazat HaShatz, Amidah, and then we would do after we finished the Tachanun, right, the supplication, we would stop there, do a 5-minute break. Everybody would now put on tefillin, take off the tefillin Rashi, and then put tefillin on Rabbeinu Tam. The rabbi would also do that, and then once everybody put it on, we would continue from Ashrei, right? Start from there, and go to Uvaret Zion and the rest, finish the tefillah. So basically, like, the first part was done with Rashi, the second part was done with Rabbeinu Tam. That's the way it was. This is the proper way to do it, by the way. If you want to make a minyan, this is the way you should do it. But the truth is, in America, most people don't put Rabbeinu Tam, so it's still not very common here in America. Very small minority of people who put Rabbeinu Tam. Maybe, I don't know, 10%, or whatever, something like that, right? I don't know, 5%, 10%. 90% of people here don't put. So what can I tell you, right? As we said, in the Hasidim they put. In the Sfardim also a little bit more, But in the Lithuanian world, almost nobody puts.
Rabbi, I have a question.
Sure.
The Hasidim, since the males put it on before marriage,
right?
Does that mean that the Hasidim male have no bad thoughts in their heads?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, it doesn't mean that. What it means is that they're not so concerned about it.
I see.
That's it.
I knew you'd like that one.
Okay, God bless you. Okay, I guess we'll stop there. We'll do the rest of it, Bezrat Hashem, next time. That. God bless you. Chazak Baruch. Be blessed with wealth, health, and happiness. All the good things.
Thank you.
Still Adar, so be sameach. Be extra sameach. Be extra happy today.
Amen.
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 כבוד הרב.
לילה טוב.
לילה טוב.